Media, and you are tuned into the Ashraf God.
Still to come, we'll be chatting later on to Qari Aish Ali, who's been performing the Taraweeh Salah, in fact, in the camps, Lebanon, Palestine. So we're looking forward to talking to him about that. But the story we've been discussing earlier on around, well, yesterday, in fact, around what's happened at the mosque in Kenwyn. That's the mosque called the Waterloo Road Masjid. That is administered by the Ashrafia Trust. Well, we've got a sequel to that. We've got a trustee. We spoke to Hassan about it yesterday. We've got a trustee from the mosque who will give us his side, or the trustee's side of the story, coming up just about after 9 o'clock. So listen out for that. In the meantime, let me draw your attention to this incredibly worrying and troublesome video. Well, you may see that there's a building that looks like a mosque on fire. What's the story behind that? What do we read into it? What happens next? Let's find out. My guest on this particular issue is Ghazala Ahmad, who's a journalist based in India. Ghazala, appreciate your time. Good morning and assalamu alaikum. In fact, it's very close to lunchtime for you, right? Although you're not eating. I think we're battling to. I'm just trying to see if we're battling to. I think you need to unmute yourself because I can't hear you clearly.
Yeah,
All right,
I've done.
got that. Okay, so close to lunch in Ramadan doesn't make much of a difference. I got that. Thank you so much. Right, tell me. I'm looking at that video that we played of a building, apparently a mosque that is burning. Right, what's the backstory to that?
Okay, so this is basically not a mosque, but a madrasa where the students come to learn Quran and to understand that. So this madrasa was established by one of the women in the Bihar. Bihar is a state in India, and it was established by a woman called Azizia in the memory of her husband, and it was almost 100 years old madrasa where a lot of students from the state used to come and study and learn Quran. So this madrasa on the night of 31st of March was vandalized and burnt down by the Hindu mob in the state. And it had almost 5,000 books, religious and non-religious. And the madrasa was also connected with the state board, and both kind of teachings were used to imparted in this they used to impart both kind of teachings in the madrasa, the religious one and the non-religious as well. So this was burnt down by the mob during the Ram Navami celebrations.
All right. So, first of all, I mean, it's horrific and it's really tragic in terms of the loss, both from Islamic point and secular education, and what happens to those learners. But let's just take a step back. Then, you said burned down by a mob, and you refer to a Hindu mob. So who is this mob, and is there any debate that it was burned down by that mob, or is that speculation?
So see, this is not the lone incident. And as we go back to it, we can see a lot of similar incidents happening in the backdrop of the Hindu festivals, I must say. Ram Navami is one of them. Last year also we saw the similar kind of incidents in several states of India, and same happened this year as well. So during Ram Navami, what they do is they take out rallies, religious rallies, they say, but they turn into like more violent ones, and they raise provocative slogans in front of mosques, and more specifically in front of Muslim religious institutions. And then they try to like attack people associated with the Muslim religion. Same happened in Bihar as well. Like this incident happened in front of madrasa, and they vandalized and they burned down it, and soon after that it escalated to the colonies as well. Women of the Bihar are alleging that these people forcibly entered the house of the women, they misbehaved with the women, their valuables were snatched, and things like that are also appearing. Not only this, uh, like soon after the Ramadan started, I think there are innumerable incidents where Muslims are being targeted. And if I talk about, like, I have made a list of a few incidents that I could gather, and which were reported, which came into light. So soon after Ramadan is started, a lot of at a lot of places people were barred from offering Taraweeh prayers. Not even in the mosques, but in their private houses, in their private spaces, they were not being allowed. In Muradabad is a place in Uttar Pradesh where a family was stopped from offering Taraweeh prayers because some Hindutva organization had an objection with that, and the police came with the order that they cannot pray there anymore. And
Yeah. So
yesterday
yeah.
only, so there was the order by NCRT that some books of the 12th standard, in those books, the history related to the Mughal era of the India will be removed, and the students will not be taught, will they will not teach that part of the Indian history to the students, and that part will be removed. So anything which is remotely associated with the Muslim presence, it is being erased.
Okay.
There is an
So I mean,
attempt to erase that.
so we certainly we've been aware of the anti-Muslim policies of the Hindutva, and but it also appears, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when they turn these religious festivals into effectively anti-Muslim political political actions, right? Because that's what they are, of vandalism. Uh, what then is the response of let's say a Bihar state? What then is the response of national government?
See, just because the situation is very grim on the ground, so not a lot of people couldn't, lot of journalists couldn't go and cover there. So there is this journalist who told us that when he was on the ground, he was chased by the mob. The police was not also very cooperative with him. So he anyhow managed to cover this incident. So I would not say that the response of the administration is very good. I mean, they have booked a couple of people there, but I don't know what kind of like investigation they are going to carry, whether it
Yeah.
will be in support of Muslims or not. I cannot
Yeah.
say that.
But whatever it is, I mean, it appears, and I understand there's also been a story of an imam who was attacked a few days ago, and then he had his beard, had his beard cut off or removed. But a similar type of mob, right? One thing is being booked for investigation, but am I right in saying, by and large, let's say in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe increasingly so, that these um, organizations hell bent on destroying remnants of the Islamic uh, culture and flavor of India are doing so with impunity. They have a sense that nothing's really going to happen to them, and that's why they continue doing it by the sheer numbers of occurrences and the sheer numbers of people very blatantly in public.
As I have said, yes, as I have said, like anything which is related to Muslim presence in India, there is an attempt to erase it. Be it our religious institutions, be it the names of the places which remotely associated with the Urdu word or the Muslim name. I mean, there is an attempt to even remove that. Be it our monuments, be it our religious attires, Muslim, as we have seen whatever happened in Karnataka, like Muslims women were stripped of their dignity. They were asked to remove their hijab whether if they want to study further. So there is a continuous attack on the Muslim identity, and obviously, yes, there's a very blatant state impunity given to these incidents. As I remember, as I recall, like not a very long back ago, there was a lynching in the state called Haryana, and these two Muslim men were killed, and their bodies were burnt down. And it has been like 2-3 months since then, and no action has been taken since then. Same happened with the other incidents as well. So this kind of support, when they are enjoying this kind of support from the state, and no action has been taken against them, definitely. So that is
Mhm.
why all these things are happening.
Now, I understand that uh, the policies of the ruling BJP party, um, and even the Prime Minister Modi, even before he became the head of Gujarat state, and then of course the head of the country, has been very consistent with the actions of the Hindutva movement, right? I mean, A, is that true? And B, what has the prime minister been saying? Has he pronounced on this at least publicly and condemned these type of growing actions to effectively annihilate communities and peoples and an entire religion in a huge country with a massive number of Muslims in a minority, but a massive, huge minority that makes up India?
This is very ironic, and I think very unfortunate for the country like India, which boasts so much about its secularism and which boasts so much about its diversity, which is very, I mean, it is completely failing to safeguard the rights of their Muslim population, which is equally a part of country. Forget about making policies for the safeguard of Muslims in India. And as far as we talk about prime minister, I don't think so. As far as my knowledge is concerned, I don't think so that any even a remote statement has been made by him for the Muslim community in India and whatever we
Yeah.
are facing right now.
Which then leaves me with the next question, right? You know, when it comes to atrocities, I'm looking at issues in Myanmar, of course, with the Uyghur Muslims, in Myanmar, then the Uyghur Muslims of China, then obviously the issue of Palestine, and we can go on to a whole lot of others, right? Ultimately, it gets tabled at the United Nations, um, and you know, people get tried with the International Criminal Court, or resolutions are passed at the UN. So, with regards to atrocities against Muslims in India, have we got to that level where there are UN resolutions being tabled and then passed at all, or is that not happening?
No, not yet. I don't think so. Like I think if we can reach there, there will be a path to follow. Like if anything, any action will be taken within the country, then only we will be able to reach these international organizations. So first of all, there is a very complete support of the state and the majority of India, which follows the Hindutva ideology, which also followed the kind of violence that is being perpetrated against Muslims. So I don't think so. Like anything of that sort has been initiated till now.
Okay, which then gets me to ask you this last question, right? Um, so by coincidence, I was actually in India, in Gujarat state, on some business work about 2 weeks before Ramadan. In fact, okay, I experienced no problems, but I mean, that's a business trip. It's very different, right? Um, the obvious question that people would be asking is like, so what are Muslims talking about in their homes? What are their fears? What are their concerns? What are they saying about this daily occurrence and attack on their institutions, on their beliefs, on their very being? What are people like yourself and others saying?
See, the primary concerns of us is that, after the incident, when we go to report the incident, when we go to cover the incident, what Muslims are saying repeatedly is that let us live. This is the basic thing that we can ask. Let us live in peace. Forget about the other luxurious things which are obviously our rights. But this is the primary thing that I get to hear as a journalist on fields, that we want to live in peace first of all. Nothing more
Yeah.
than that we want.
And what are the families saying? I'm not talking of journalists. The average families, your
That's
relatives,
what
your
I'm
cousin.
saying.
What are
That's
they saying?
that's
They're
what
saying the same thing. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like people, we get to hear from them only. Like we want to live in peace. That's what they keeps telling us.
yeah.
See, if we talk about the families of the political prisoners, they also, like, I mean, justice has just succumbed to very I think a lower level. So, for them, justice is that they can able to speak to their children who are in jail right now.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
level
yeah.
of the justice for them is this now. We cannot ask for bigger things at this moment. We're
Do
just asked
you,
for basic things, basic
yeah,
rights.
do you and the Muslim community in India, and it's a large community, do you fear for your future?
Obviously, we do. Like, sense of security is the one thing that we look for right now. Be Even being as a citizen, being as a Muslim, being as a journalist, every day or the other, they like nab citizens, nab journalists, nab editors. So this is one thing that we look for: the quality of life, the security of life. Obviously, this is one of the biggest concern. Let us,
Okay.
that is what I'm saying, that people also say that just let us live in peace,
Yeah,
simply.
I understand that. All right, here's the last thing. Is there, and it may be a difficult one to even expect a yes from, but is there any level of Muslim activism going to the streets and effectively pushing for their human rights and the fact that their human rights and their very basic human rights and their religion and their faith are being trampled upon? Are there degrees of activism now present in India, or is it all underground and all too hush hush because they're too scared?
No, no, as you have seen, like in 2019, we have what we saw during CAA protests, and the people who like participated or who voiced for the human rights, they're still languishing in jail. But apart from that, I think not even not if not on a way bigger level, there are organizations, there are people who are fighting constantly, who are constantly voicing for our rights. So like yes, I think there are a couple of organizations who are doing their part of work, but not on a broader level. I don't think so, like there are any organizations that can like work on a broader
Okay,
level.
I'd like to speak to them someday. It's a horrific story. It's a huge concern, and as you know, in many other countries of the world, when these things happen and they're not stopped, they grow bigger and bigger and bigger to the point of absolute, annihilation and genocide of of an entire nation within a nation. So that's a huge problem. But thank you for your time, and I pray that inshallah you and your family and the journalism fraternity and everybody else will be safe. But of course, inshallah, that the buildings be safe and the mosques and the madrasas must be safe from being burnt and destroyed. So thank you for your time, Ghazala Ahmad. Appreciate it indeed.
You're welcome, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that is a cause for concern. It's not like the first time we've spoken about it on the show. I know that, and throughout Salam Media, but it's a daily occurrence. So, like, do we say it's not happening? Is it just nonsense? And here's the question that I asked: like, so what is the South African community doing? What is the world Muslim community doing? But more importantly, if not just Muslims, what are human beings who are opposing the Russian invasion of Ukraine? What are they doing around this particular issue? Is it a United Nations issue? Has it reached UN level in terms of resolutions, or is not even there? And like, why not? Is it this important? Do you prevent before it happens, or do we actually have this discussion a few years down the line when it's a complete community or a nation has been annihilated? Call that genocide.